Mercedes overtaken Ferrari? In another Red Bull-dominated weekend, or more so Verstappen-dominated weekend, it seemed that Ferrari were the ones who have fallen slightly over the summer break, and perhaps Mercedes have found some additional pace. It was the typical Red Bull-Ferrari in the top three after qualifying, but quickly in the race did it seem to slip away from Ferrari and into Mercedes' hands. Ferrari once again made some mistakes in the pit lane and thus caused themselves some more issues down the line. It was a fairly standard drive to the victory for Verstappen. There was a moment in the race where it looked like Mercedes and Hamilton might have the edge, utilizing a strategy, but when Bottas stopped later in the race and brought out the full safety car, that was when Mercedes reaped what they sowed, in that they didn't pit Hamilton and saw a very quick Leclerc-Silverstone situation going down, where Hamilton was on much worse tyres than everybody who had pitted around him and therefore fell down the order. From going from looking like he was going to win the race at one point to ending off the podium in fourth, wasn't the race that Hamilton would have been looking for. But in the end, it was Leclerc who managed to steal that podium from Hamilton, at least giving Ferrari something to smile about in another very bad weekend for them, another one they'd want to forget. George Russell did, however, manage to hang on to his second place with pitting during that safety car at the end and having fresh tyres at the end of the race as well, which gave him the advantage over his teammate. Sergio Perez was fifth after a bit of a lowly race in comparison to what we had last time out in Belgium, where Red Bull were unstoppable. And even looking at Red Bull's pace, where from Verstappen's point of view, he did seem untouchable throughout most of the weekend. Fernando Alonso once again being the highest point scorer for the pair of Alpine drivers, again kind of leading to question why it was Alonso that Alpine were looking to get rid of rather than Ocon. It was a question I had when it all kind of started coming out that they were potentially looking to bring Oscar Piastri in, and then saying it was Alonso they would replace rather than Ocon. If you look at their seasons, Alonso has had a more successful season so far, so it was an interesting choice, but lo and behold, that's what they've gone for. But Fernando Alonso was sixth with Esteban Ocon down in ninth, so another double point score for Alpine, another additional haul of points for their fourth place in the Constructors. Lando Norris once again being the sole McLaren point finisher. Ricciardo's really not having a good time of it. Obviously now it's confirmed he's lost his seat as well, and Piastri will be taking that seat. It seems that the knock has not only hurt him, but really hurt him, and where he wasn't performing exceptionally anyway, he just isn't really performing at all now. Down in 17th, 37 seconds off the leaders. Certainly not a race Ricciardo will want to remember either. Carlos Sainz was down in 8th after all of his debacles in the pits, and Perez driving over his wheel gun because they didn't have all of the tyres for him for one of his stops, just thought 3 would do. Really messy race for Sainz today, in terms of pit lane stuff, unsafe releases, missing tyres, just a really messy race for him. Not a great one at all, but to finish at least in the points will be something to at least maybe be content about. But yeah, a really poor showing from them and him this weekend. And our final point scorer, once again, Aston Martin with Stroll. The Aston Martins do seem to cheekily take that 10th place, and albeit being for 1 point, it is 1 point more than their competitors, 2 AlphaTauris, 2 Alfa Romeos, 2 Williams out of points again this race. So AlphaTauri really doing what they need to keep themselves ahead of their competitors in the Constructors. It's quite closely knit down that end of the Constructors table, I believe. Having at least consistent points coming in does keep Aston Martin ahead of their competitors, which is, I think I said AlphaTauri earlier and I meant Aston Martin. My bad, sorry. But yeah, at least keeping Aston Martin in the fight. To recap last time when we had driver nightmares and the Alpine situation and all of that mess, it is confirmed now that Piastri will be racing for McLaren next year alongside Lando Norris. Fernando Alonso is leaving, we knew that. There is a seat now at Alpine, the question is who? There's talks about other young Alpine drivers going in, but are they ready? There's also talks and rumblings about Pierre Gasly potentially taking the seat and him breaking out of his AlphaTauri seat for next year, which I think is a brilliant move for him, but that then obviously leads to the question who will take that seat. It's all up in the air and confusing, and who knows. Antonio Giovinazzi's also returned to the scene, which is gobsmacking, potentially going into Haas to take Schumacher's seat. Since coming back from the summer break, Mick Schumacher hasn't really had the best run of things. Maybe he knows something we don't, maybe he's been demotivated, which would be a shame, but Sadly, that is the cutthroat way of the world. I do think bringing in Antonio Giovinazzi instead of Mick Schumacher would be unadvised. They'll have their reasons for doing it, I'm sure. I'm confused by it because I thought Schumacher would have come with a decent handful of sponsors as well, to keep him in the seat. So that would have been, that's kind of how it works. But yeah, we'll find out hopefully soon. There's a few seats up for grabs, but I can't remember what they are. I'm gonna put a little table here. And this is who is where, what we know, and what seats are vacant. But I'm not gonna put who might take them because I don't know. But anyone we do know is going to be here. Next time out, I'm excited to inform you, I shall be bringing track talk from the track once again for the Italian Grand Prix. I'm very luckily going to be going. I haven't been to the Italian Grand Prix for a couple of years due to COVID, so it's super exciting to be able to go back, and I am looking forward to bringing you guys with me. If you have thoughts, feelings, opinions on anything I've said, or if, like always, I've missed something, it's quite likely, please let me know down in the comment box down below, and I will come and join you so we can carry on the conversation down there. But for now, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's an absolute blast as always. If you enjoyed this video, go check that like button, some Formula One love. And if you want to support the channel, go hit subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss next time I upload a video. Stay awesome, and I'll see you all in the next video! Way shorter than the last because nothing happened.